Go for it.
Okay, so my CMP evaluation. I chose the brief of the Journey 3D keyshot, and the brief we were given was this. I did capture a stage in the Journey. It was the day transition between the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire with the murder of Julius Caesar. I think I did create a story with visual narrative, such as the market stalls having little statues being sold. And there was a humanity to the drama, because it's about a civilization overcoming an oppressing power, that being Julius Caesar, a dictator at the time. And I focused a lot on modelling with very little focus on texture and lighting so that it would fit the low poly style. And I didn't use any AI in my final keyshot, or really at all throughout the project. When it comes to final deliverables, I did showcase an environment from pretty clear. There it is. It felt like a lived-in world because there were market stalls and pots scattered around. It felt like somewhere that had people in, and it did have a transition of society from Roman Republic to Roman Empire. There was world building because I had a lot of blood and murder and violence symbolism, and I did research into architecture and nature, such as the fact I modelled the foliage from flowers that would be in Rome, and did research on the culture that influenced the architecture and modelling techniques, colour. And I did use a lot of peer feedback, such as when I did lots of iterations of the poster and got feedback on which one was the people's favourite. My project proposal, but I think I did complete it because I had a 3D low poly environment of an ancient Roman form. I had iconic Roman architecture surrounding a market square as I always planned. I modelled all the foliage myself, which I didn't think I would do, but I did. I reached my intended target audience of teenagers who are gamers. And then also I did find a lot of people who thought 3D artists would be interested. And I made... Ooh, will it come up? I'm on the wrong thing now. There we go. I did make a Steam page, and a lot of people said it looked like a believable game that they'd be interested in. Request access.
Yeah.
From myself. I did not plan for this.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Can you quickly give yourself access? Is it your video?
Yeah.
We can play it at the end if you want.
Okay. Oh, it's really included in this.
Okay. Have you submitted it somewhere else?
I'll see if I can. Aha.
Is it in there? In the deliverables?
Yeah. Share. I've got it.
You got it?
Shared it. Now refresh.
Yeah.
Oh no. Gosh, it's really testing me. Okay, cool. So, when it came to my initial plan, I did follow it, and I actually did 4 more deliverables than expected. That's all shown here. With my audience feedback, the posters, everyone understood the theme of violence, and they said that with the typography, that it does tie it all together, but the blood splatter, it should be more chaotic. It's too clean cut. And my favourite was this, because it looks like an indie game I would purchase and play. And the theme of murder was brought around, but a lot of people said it looked like a space game. A lot of individual people said that, which was a bit surprising. I used both, they like them both equally, and that's good, because I did use them both equally in my trailer. And it said it conveyed a message of murder and violence, and it fit the Roman aesthetic, so I think the logos were on point. And when I modelled architecture, the low poly style was clearly understood, and all the buildings were identified as Roman architecture, except for the insulae. A lot of people said it looked like it was from the 1960s or 80s, but from my research, I know that it's one of those structures that in the context of Rome looks out of place because we're so used to it in modern times, because it has just been there throughout history. It's one of those ones that was just perfected early on, and so it looks uncanny in an old context. When it was modelling foliage, the daisies were the most realistic, probably because they're simple to recreate, and they were the last one I made, so I had perfected what I was doing. they all had doubts, but the rosebush was the worst because it was the first one I modelled. It looks too sharp and blocky, and I do wish I'd gone back and fixed it, but I didn't. So it looks a bit out of place. With the environment video, I was told it wasn't too long, had a well-incorporated logo and wasn't too repetitive, but as I agree with everyone, oh my, I think that it does need a voiceover, some sort of audio. It's just completely silent. I did an ArtStation test on my audience, and they said it took 10 to 30 seconds on average. They were probably looking for it now. And I think it does show how professional it is that people can't find it that quickly. Do you want the answer? It's like middle left.
Ah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I felt very proud of the fact that no one could find it. I did so much research. This project, I got really just into it. And I learned a lot of facts about the British Museum. I learned a lot of facts about the Roman Empire. And when I went to the British Museum, I must have annoyed my friends to death with the facts. I'd point at a statue and tell them all about it. And it did help me decide the buildings I'd use in my final scene. And I did a lot of research on the low poly style. And it helped me realise I would have to model all the foliage myself. I couldn't just download assets. And one thing I researched that I didn't include was that the bricks were dated with the name of the empire at the time. So when archaeologists are uncovering, they find it and they're like, oh, well, this is the era it's from. I wanted to include that, but didn't get around to it. I changed my designs throughout my project, such as the garden. It lost a wall at the back. There was a whole nother. I didn't get time for it. I would have wanted to include the history about the bricks in my amphitheatre. And I wanted pebble paths all around, but didn't get around to it. And this is a big thing for visual narrative. There was a lot of Greek influence on ceramics and pots, how there was a story told around them. I really wish I inputted that, because it would have been the perfect time with the Greek influence becoming more Roman. But again, didn't get time, but would have been perfect. I'm going to quickly go through some modelling issues. The garden doesn't make logical sense. It's enclosed on itself. The back of the wall and the front of the wall, it doesn't make sense. There's no exit and entrance. And then the garden beds are floating because I positioned them perfectly, and then when I added my low poly effect, they just started floating, didn't catch it in time. The water should have more movement, not animation, but the still should have it overpouring. The market should have more varied items and a more varied look. And I caught this during poster making, was that the columns are floating in the temple, again beveling, and also this is quite a big one, the architecture of the temple doesn't make much sense because there's no actual building for worship. And I looked back at my original sketches, and in my original sketches didn't have that either. So I did stick to my truth, but it's not accurate. And the base of the garden has some old history from when I originally planned for there to be columns at the edge of every garden bed. And there was glitches all over where in Maya 2 objects were overlapping, and when I translated it into Unreal, it just started clipping. And that did end up being in the videos. And it was really distracting because it's just really distracting. Now I have to find access for this one. But with okay. Distracting. It's not gonna work, is it? Okay, there we go. It was really entertaining, but I did turn on animation halfway through one of my model makes in Unreal, and it started flying away, which meant I had to restart the project so many times just because I kept having saving issues and it flying away. And this is another everything looked too shiny when I was rendering it in Maya because of the reflectivity settings, and I had bad camera movement when I was making the video, because I normally caught all these in renders, but some of them, it made it really difficult to edit around. What I did like about my project was the way the buildings turn out and how I did stick to my original sketches. And one thing I did like is how much I got to talk about the Roman Empire with the people in my life, such as my parents, because my mum studied the art side in uni, and my dad studied the history and architecture side. And then also, I had to take advice on perspective in my original sketches, because I had never learnt that, and I had to get with it. If I had more time, I'd definitely add music to my environment video, and I'd fix the glitches, and I'd put the designs on the pots, and have the fountain make more water. That's the main things that have been bugging me about it. Okay, there was 4 softwares. No, that's a lie. I'm going too fast. I named my screenshots what I was doing in the screenshots all throughout, so I knew exactly where I was when I was putting them in production log. I had it all mapped out. I named all my assets clearly, and I organised them all into folders. And I used 4 softwares. In Photoshop, I learned how to properly use overlays and to my advantage. In Maya, I learned a nice way to model arches. That was the highlight of Maya. And in Unreal, I learned how to make the lighting work for me, because in the first image you can see it all is washed out and everything blends into each other. But when I moved the lighting, it just made everything more detailed and crisp, and you could actually see what was going on. And in After Effects, I learned how to make easy use transitions, so it speeds up a little and slows down, so that it's just easy on the eye. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Well done. Gabby, did you breathe at all?